Alright, so hey guys, this will be the first top 10 video that I'll be creating for this beautiful game over here. Let me just change over to Justice and Punishment so as to not have too repetitive music. So this will be about the top 10 most terrifying PvP characters. And this is my own personal list, and they are in no particular order, so take note of that. So I'm just gonna start off by picking out the ones that I feel just occurred to me as terrifying to face in PvP. And so you can take this list in any order because it all comes down to your own experience and also how you handle it. For some people, they feel Kingbrum is not really a threat because they've already got the team to counter Kingbrum 9 out of 10 times. And for some people, they feel that the Escanor ult rush is not that terrifying because they've got the team that rolls back ults. And they can defeat that team 9 out of 10 times. So I'll just show you guys my PvP team. This is my PvP team composition. And I have tried out um, a little bit of Halgrim when we didn't have level 70 or 75. I think we didn't have level 75 yet at that time or something like that. And I did rotate Merlin into my team as well and try Merlin King and go through as kind of the Holy Trinity. I even started off in ungeared with a bit of Barn, which was absolutely a terrible idea. So I have played around a little bit with different compositions, but in the end I sat down at this because I really like how this team has all the colors that you would need, and also how we have two terrifying characters such as King and Gother just creating such powerful synergy and support for Escanor, who is one of the best DPS units in PvP. So I'm going to start off my list by showing you who I feel is one of the most terrifying units in PvP to ever be created or faced against, which is King. And of course, the Blue King. Because we don't have anything else in global. Who is, we don't have Red King. I've heard Red King is pretty terrifying in JP, but Blue King is one of the most terrifying units to face in PvP. He's, an immediate threat in any team composition. He's often a frontline unit. If you find a King in the backline, there's something weird going on. Someone probably brought their deathmatch team or something weird like that. But King is often a priority to kill, and you do not want King to bide his time ranking up his cards because his cards just get better and better as they go on. His cards are really very passive at the first level, but he has one of the most powerful debuff removals, which is a level 1 debuff removal, which completely changes fights. He could just have a level 1 debuff removal, pop in, cleanse his entire team's worth of, Petrify or Attack Seal, and completely counter enemy teams, which makes him a very good support. And his ability to Petrify is just such a powerful card overall. It removes all of the buffs and debuffs on an enemy. So if your enemy, let's say like Arthur, does the level 2 buff instead of level 3, you could use Petrify on him and remove his entire stack of buffs. But of course, you can't do it when he's using his level 3 because that makes him immune to debuffs, which is where, you kind of have that give and take. But at the same time, Petrify also removes the debuffs you place on an enemy. So, for example, if you attack seal an enemy and you do your Petrify, the attack seal goes off. So even after the enemy comes out of Petrify, they will not have any attack seal or stacks of Ignite and all of that stuff. So it's a kind of a double-edged sword, but it's a very, very powerful skill because in the end, your enemy is going to lose one turn if they do not cleanse themselves, and they're going to lose 2 turns at level rank 3 cut. So, yep, one of very ideal support units to have in any team for that matter. The only place where he really falls off is his passive, which is only useful for fairy allies. So if you're not running Helbram, this unique is only going to apply to himself. And yeah, it's kind of the only downside King really has. And then there is the Shatter Ultimate, which is really, really powerful and terrifying. I have it at level 3, but if you're facing it at 5 and 6, you can call for a team wipe. And especially in geared, if he is running attack defense instead of HP defense, yeah, he's gonna wipe your team. And if you don't kill him fast enough, there's nothing that's gonna stop the king. So the only place where king really falls short in a way is his crit resistance is really bad, so you can crit him most of the time, which is really the best way to get rid of king. Any DPS unit that focuses him down, especially now with Escanor meta, you can kind of wipe teams of king easily, except there's a kind of balance because Escanor's crit chance is really low, which is why kings are still viable even though Escanor is such a threat. King is just so powerful and he's there in the meta. So the second one who I feel is a definite threat is Gother. Gother is, what people say is the best character in the game, and for obvious reasons, it has to be the Red Gother, and it all comes down to discard, the rank up. Invasion Arrow. Invasion Arrow is probably the best skill in the game, period, and they had to nerf this skill by making his level 3 increase basic stats. And although this seems uh, you know, decent. Basic stats 20%. Yeah, that's pretty good, right? All stats 20% buff. Yeah, it's decent, but most people would just use this card at level 2 and not combine into level 3 because level 2 cards are just going to keep helping you rank up your your entire team's set of cards, which is more valuable at times than going to level 3. You only go to level 3 when you've got stacked up cards, you just want to get the stat buff, so you do this. Besides, there are characters who got better stat boosters, like Arthur, even Green Halgrim. There are a lot of characters that do way better stat boosts. So, Gother's rank 2 rank up card Invasion Arrow is the one that's really killing it in the game right now. So powerful in raids and in PvP. It's just scary. It makes every character viable because a lot of characters rely on rank 2 cards and rank 3 cards, and if you have either a 1 or rank 2, Gother is there to save the day. And on top of that, he has Attack Seal, which at times seems like it's not that great of a deal, but it really shuts down a lot of teams that rely on purely attack-based teams, and Gother is the reason why you do not see a team of all attackers. He's the support that shuts down entire attack teams by himself. And in a lot of other games, you could see a full damage meta where you just see teams of full attackers, full flankers, all these kinds of shenanigans. But in this game, you will never see a full attack team because Gother is gonna, like it's just gonna arrow shot and he's gonna just shoot down an entire team, completely shut down all attackers, which is really really scary in PvP. And at the same time, if you're not attacking Gother, he is increasing his allies' attack by 10%, up to 50%, and trust me, you do not want to get anywhere near 50%, so at least make sure you tap on this go through at least 2 turns once. Otherwise, especially if you're facing Kingbrams, King or Halbram, if either of them get their ult off with 30% attack boost, it's over. It's over, man. There's nothing you can do about that. So last but not least, the icing on the cake, Gother has one of the most terrifying and viable ultimates in PvP, Holy Ballista and Rewrite Light. And he's gonna, D-rank your ultimate orbs, which is basically like, it's diamonds in PvP. It's the one thing that makes a lot of teams work. Ultra-rush teams all rely on ultimates. And D-ranking all of their effort is why he's just an ideal character to have at this moment in PvP and in a lot of future PvP team compositions. So I see Gother never going to lose his viability, and people are always going to say he's the best unit. So if you didn't get him, I mean, I wish you all the best because I really want everyone to be able to have this unit and have him at his fullest potential. And why we're all not going to be able to 6x his ultimate, I mean, you don't really need to because it already does what it has to, and you're gonna hit like a mouse once you go to geared because you're gonna be focusing on HP defense stats for him because he's a really good support and you do not want him dead, and that's where he really shines. Despite the fact that he's got a terrifying attack, you're never really gonna maximize it. You're always going to focus on his defense, and he's got amazing crit resistance, which is why having more crit resistance on him on gear is not a bad thing, because enemies are just not going to really be able to crit him down. You're just gonna have to go for Pierce, and that's where Gothers get killed eventually. So, yeah, aside from King and Gother, we're gonna definitely have to talk about one of the most, I would say, balanced characters in a way, Arthur. So Arthur is not really uh, that terrifying, and he does fall off eventually, and he has served his purpose in a lot of ungeared global teams. And it all comes down to this card, the Royal Sword. So Arthur's ability to rank up a team's basic stats is it's unique because it ranks up all three stats, which immediately gives benefit to any team that's running an amplify based attack. A good example was all those people who ran Alleyhawk teams because she has amplified damage on Fire Breath, and it counts 30% per active buff. So on top of getting the attack boost from Arthur, you're gonna get three different buffs, which is your attack, your defense, and your HP buff, because it ranks basic stats. So you're gonna get automatically three buffs from him. You're gonna get a plus 90, and then you're gonna get Alleyhawks, another plus 120. You're gonna do a crap lot of damage, and that's where Arthur really shined. But at the same time, Arthur is still a viable counter to um, Kingbrum, because once you get Arthur's level 3 buff, you completely shut down Kingbrums, because Kingbrum completely relies on being able to petrify, and the rollback is not as terrifying as the petrify is, in my opinion. So if you may ever get to level 3 Royal Sword, you shut down Kingbrums entirely, and it's really terrifying. And also he has Light Pillar, which is really good against King, because it disables recovery. So you're gonna not only prevent them from petrifying, gonna prevent them from healing, and the only thing they're gonna have to do is just roll back ults, which doesn't really matter because you're gonna kill them in the meantime by getting up your ults. So they're gonna roll back, you're gonna get it, they're gonna roll back, you're gonna get it, but in the meantime, without their petrify, their cards are just useless, right? So yeah, it's gonna come down to that. And on top of all of that, he has an amazing passive, which is increase human allies HP related stats. It's not the greatest out there, but viable in all circumstances, PvP, PvE. He's overall a great character. Legendary is a pretty amazing ultimate. It gives him a guaranteed chance almost to crit in PvP, but in PvE, some monsters can significantly reduce your crit chance. He has very good base crit chance, which is one of the reasons why you're gonna crit 100% of the time in PvP if you do it, all right. Uh, and his crit damage is not that high. It's pretty decent. 170 is pretty good. You can bump him up really well, and just crit kill enemies easily. Geared, ungeared, doesn't matter. You're gonna have your turn where you're gonna buff your team, whack the enemy team, and it becomes viable once again when there's a red Escanor. Even though you're gonna get your buff removed the next turn, during your turn you can still wipe teams, which is pretty terrifying. So yeah, that's Arthur. After that, we come to our good friend, where is he? Halgrim. So yeah, I used him a little bit in ungeared at level 70. I didn't take him to 75 because Escanor dropped, and I went for that. So I realized the power Halberd possesses in PvP, and I think it's gonna stay for a while, because we know that Blue Demon Melee is coming out. But I mean, what's really to stop uh, you know Halberd at this point, right? So Red Halberd is definitely one of the top tier PvP characters in the game, if not the top for sure. He has rollback and he has petrify. Uh, Definitely the best offensive character, for sure. If you're not rolling back, you're petrifying. If you're not petrifying, you're rolling back. These two amazing offensive cards in one character. All he needs is a great support, a la King, a la Gother, and yeah, you create one of the most powerful PvP team compositions. And if that's not enough, he's going to increase his basic stats, which is a really selfish passive, but amazing at the start of the PvP rounds. He's going to have what's this? Burst each surviving ally. I think it counts himself, so he's going to have 5, 10, 15, 20%, which is really powerful. He's going to do a lot of damage. He's going to have a lot of HP, despite the fact that he has low defenses. He usually survives long enough to do as much damage as he needs to. And he has a terrifying ultimate: cancel buff, cancel stances, and then inflict the damage. This is really important because you're going to make sure that you do the damage after you remove the buffs, which is exactly what you need. You're obviously going to have the easy association with him, which is Gustav, and you're automatically going to be doing, 420 and much higher than that at higher levels. So yeah, he's pretty scary and definitely in my list of things to kill at this moment because it's all I face in PvP when you go to higher levels. Halgrim, 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 and most of it comes along in the package of the Kingbrim, which is why it's pretty scary. The synergy he has with King and King's passive is what makes him such a great unit, and it's just he's just so good right now. And I mean, I really want to find more ways to kill him, but at the moment he is gonna find so many ways to kill you, and that's kind of the scary thing. So yeah, aside from that, you're gonna have my man Holy Knight Guild Thunder, who I've not used in a long time, and I kind of am feeling bad about it. But Green Guild Thunder is just such a great unit. In PvP, he shines really well. He's viable in so many team compositions. He's just one of the best backline units, if not, or definitely the best, alongside Green Merlin. So he has Rupture damage on his first skill, which does to all enemies, which is great against buff meta. It's great against Merlin Cube. It's great against Arthur buffs. But other than that, it's a really shitty attack. But it doesn't really matter because he's got a great buff to go along with it, which increases attack of all allies by 60%. It's a flat attack stat buff, which is pretty scary. 60% is a lot. If you get it to 40%, it's still pretty good. 2 turns, 40%. Yeah, why not? And he's great, good again, good in raids. He's good in PvE fights, but of course, in PvP, he's got this terrifying passive. Increases all allies' defense-related stats by 30%. So crit defense, resistance, defense, all goes up 30%. If you got alt food or something like that, you make up for the fact that you don't have Merlin on the team. You're gonna be so much tankier. And yeah, it's pretty scary. And the fact that you can easily 6/6 his ult, uh, you know, he's good. He's what can I say? He's balanced. He's a great character to have. And even if you don't use him on your PvP team, you can keep him for your PvE team. Even without this, the fact that he can boost damage is, yeah, it's pretty decent. So yep, that's Skill Thunder. Terrifying unit to face if you're on a buff team, but if you're not, then you just got to get rid of him fast because he usually comes out last. Doesn't stay for very long, but he really bumps up your team's defenses. In ungeared, he's really good. In geared, I think he will do better because you're gonna have more defense stats, which he has. He's gonna amplify even more, right? So yep, that's him. And then there's gonna be my man. Need I say more? So the Sunshine Escanor is a little bit, I would say, underappreciated in JP because Red Escanor just does so much damage. But I feel that in PvP he still lasts. I've seen a lot of videos of him being used in PvP still, despite the fact that he gets one-shotted by Red Escanor uh, half of the time or most of the time. His ability to remove debuffs when he has his full art gauge means that if you don't have alt orb removal, there's nothing you can do to stop him. He's gonna kill you. His first skill is just all about rushing his ult and does massive damage. Its damage doesn't scale that well until the third level, but the fact that he's going to be getting his ult gauge up is what really makes him scary. Cruel Sun is one of the best skills in the game for PvP. It's going to apply ignite stacks, which increases damage, and it's going to remove buffs. And this really shuts down a lot of buff teams at the moment. And I've used it so many times against Mono Red. I've used it so many times against all these Blue Liz and Arthur teams. And yeah, it's the reason why you don't see Blue Liz anymore. It's the reason why you see less Arthur comps. It's just terrifying. You just need a level 2 Cruel Sun, and you can remove even the level 3 buff of Arthur, which grants debuff immunity, because this is remove buff. It doesn't care about whether you are immune to debuffs, because it's just going to remove your buff entirely, and then it's going to apply the 2 stacks of Ignite. So, yeah, it's such a good skill. And then you have the terrifying ultimate, which will one-shot any enemy. If you have the 6/6, you're gonna one-shot any enemy. I got really lucky in one of my rolls where I got 2 Escanor cards, and then I got 2 more just by finishing the, what do you call that? The multi. So, sorry, the, what do you call it? Guaranteed SSR multi. Yeah. So yeah, it's one shots literally anything in the field. It will probably not one shot a buffed red Escanor, but I think without a buff, there's a high chance you can. But if the red Escanor has good stats, then that's the only unit you will not be able to kill. You just need to hit him one more time after that, and you're good. You're good to go. Yeah. So it's all about this. The one at the pinnacle is a skill that makes green Escanor, uh, really terrifying. And if you don't have, if you're not running a Halgrim or a Merlin, there's not many units that roll back ults right now that's really viable. So until Blue Lilia drops, he's gonna really dominate the meta, and he's gonna continue to do it because you have to roll him back, and you can't kill him in one turn unless you got a really powerful red unit. So the wrath of his punishment is just threatening the entire meta, and it's just such a great unit. It's got great pierce rate, one of the highest base pierce rates in the game. The only place where he falls short is his crit chance, which you can make up in a lot of ways by just increasing his pierce rate, right? If you just do so much raw damage, you don't really need to crit, and considering you'll be facing a lot of what do you call this, crit resistant teams like Gother, maybe not King, but yeah, go there mostly. His crit resist is quite high, so just having a lot of pierce is a better way to go. And yeah, it's just overall a great unit. So these are the ones who you face quite regularly, but of course, one of the units that if you have not seen in your backline, I mean, you have seen, right? There's no need for me to even finish that sentence. Green Merlin, everyone. Green Merlin is a must-have in your team. If you don't have her, well, probably have Guild Thunder. That's the only other reason. So Green Merlin is just one of those all-rounded units. Right now falling off the meta a little bit in the front line because of Ascanor's Cruel Sun, so the Perfect Cube doesn't really stand a chance. But it's really good in PvE fights still, and if you don't have buff removal, this is still a powerful thing to have. It's not really great at level 1, but at level 2 or level 3, if you have a HP defense Merlin, it scales pretty well because I think it does it based on Merlin's HP. So if you have a character that boosts HP rated stats, or you have anything close to that, you're gonna have a really good and tough perfect cube, which is pretty scary. And her, of course, this is what she's known for: rollback. You get your ult, she's gonna roll you back. She's gonna come in as the last unit and roll you back. She's gonna just ruin your finishing moves. She's gonna ruin your finishing lineup. She's gonna come in, she's just gonna roll you back, and it's gonna be like, whoops, I did it again. And this is definitely one of the best passives in the game. The fact that you're gonna have one ult op for all your allies at the start of the battle is, yeah, it changes the PvP meta. If you don't have Green Merlin, you feel really like you gotta wait for the second turn. But if you have her and you get a lucky combine, first turn you got your ult, good to go, boom. So it's not just PvP, in PvE as well, she's really, really powerful. But diverse samples just makes Green Merlin that much more valuable to have in the backline. Aside from the rollback and the cube, this is the main reason, you could say. Her ultimate exterminate rate does a crap ton of damage because Merlin's base damage is just that high. Her base attack is like near 8,000. It's insane. And I don't have that many cosmetics, so yeah, it's just insane. You can really easily boost her attacks up, and you can get it, to do a lot of damage. And I have it at level 1. If you max it out, what is it at 6/6? I can't see, but if you max it out, it's pretty terrifying. And you really don't, not that many units can survive, uh, Exterminate Ray when you've got the combined attack, Tornado, Sever, or whatever. And she disables attack skills for 2 turns, which is an okay addition to have to the ultimate. It's like, a mini Gother, because Gother does it to the entire team. But regardless, the fact that she does so much damage is good enough because she's doing enough, right? She's doing enough. So that's Green Merlin. So yeah, we've covered the most holistic and main units. Now we're gonna go to a little bit of those units that you are not gonna see so much in ungeared, but more so in geared, and that is Hauser. Hauser is a really, really terrifying unit to face in geared, especially because he's gonna have a lot of lifesteal and damage, which means that every time he attacks your team, he's going to attack all 3 units because both his skills do attack damage to all enemies, and that guarantees he's going to lifesteal from all 3 of your enemies. And unless all 3 has got great crit resistance, he's going to definitely do a lot of crit damage with Sever, and he's going to have very high pierce damage with Rising Storm. And on top of that, he has pretty decent, what do you call this, crit damage. So you gotta just be careful. The crit chance and crit damage is just gonna lifesteal so much. And everyone works on increasing his pierce rate because it's crap. But once you get his pierce rate high enough, he's just gonna melt teams in PvP. Which is why it's not so good in ungeared, because you need gear to fix him. But once you fix him, he's just gonna wreck your team. And his passive is ideal for a lot of human teams, but besides that, I mean, I don't see him being run on any non-human teams. So yeah, he's good for mono raid. He's good with Escanors. Human teams are what really makes him shine, right? Sparkly and shiny already. But besides that, he's a really good farming unit. So it's a good reason to max him out for both PvE and PvP, which is why you will face a lot of people in geared with really maxed out Hausers, which makes a lot of sense. His ultimate is often going to be combined with Kill Thunder if he's not in your backline, and it's a pretty good PvP ultimate, I must say. I didn't really think that. He's already terrifying as is because of the all attack damage, but his ultimate also does damage to all your enemies, and he's going to decrease skill ranks and deplete ultimate, which is what makes him. It gives him that kind of complete uh, like threat, right? Because his ultimate, if his skills are really good, but his ultimate's not so, then meh. But his ultimate is really terrifying as well. It's gonna wipe your entire team and decrease skill ranks if it doesn't, and deplete your ultimate orbs on top of that. So yeah, you gotta be really careful when you face him in geared. If you're not gonna attack him, be prepared. He's gonna blend down your team. I got farmed by Hauser teams when I first tried geared, so I'm not gonna talk too much about it, but get the point. If you haven't been farmed by a Hauser team, well, you haven't seen it. So yeah, Ellie Hawk has really lost her threat and her potential because of all the buff removal teams, and also, Escanor has got type advantage against her. She's just gonna wreck her. And Kingdom teams are, way too strong for her because she doesn't provide any, uh, anti-buff. Only Arthur does that. So without Arthur, she kind of really falls off the meta, and she's not the best in PvE. There are a lot of units that outclass her, so she's kind of losing her meta. So I'm not really gonna put her in the threat. I don't really see her that terrifying at the moment. So yeah, not so much. And yeah. Anyway, we have Green Barn. And you're gonna ask me, what are you doing? Why haven't you maxed out your Green Barn? Why does it look so shitty? I just haven't really started to work on him because I'm still stuck in ungeared, remember? If you go into geared, this barn is terrifying because in geared your enemies are going to have a lot of attack and defense stats. So you're basically building up your team to help your enemy ban, or your enemy is building up their team to help your ban, because he's going to be able to extort even more attack and even more defense. And 50% attack and defense. My God, man, that's terrifying. So yeah, I have to add green ban into this. So if you have gone to Gid, you would have faced him for sure. Usually in human teams, he life steals, he steals attack and defense. What else does he not steal, right? He steals your heart too. If you're maybe a girl who's into handsome ban. But regardless, he hasn't stole my heart, which is why I have not leveled him up. I feel that I gotta wait to build my gear team first before I really start working on him. He's also gonna steal your HP related stats. Not really steal, but it's gonna decrease all of it if you don't attack him. So if you ignore him, he's a threat. If you don't ignore him, he's still a threat. So he's just a threat. His ultimate is gonna extort 50% attack defense. If his extort is not already at level 3, he's gonna just pop you with his ult. Then he's gonna do his lifesteal and wipe your entire team. So yeah, he's pretty threatening in all angles. You really gotta be careful with him. He works really well with Hauser compositions because he's just gonna do the steal and Hauser's gonna do a lot of damage. But I feel that it's better if if you're gonna steal damage and attack, you might as well do it just with Bond because he's going to steal the 50% attack and he's going to attack with 50% increased attack, which is, yeah, he's going to wreck your whole team in geared. In ungeared, not so much. I did try him in ungeared and I realized that something was wrong, and now I know that he's got to be in, he's got to be used in geared, which is why, yeah, he's gonna be there pretty soon. So, I really want to talk about Blue Demon Melee. I heard it's coming out. I saw the patch notes. I'm really excited. He's probably going to drop shortly after this video. Regardless, he would have been my last mention. But other than those that I've already mentioned, um, there is one unit who we won't be seeing much of for a while. But I think we'll be seeing more of her in time to come. You're getting an idea now, huh? So it's gonna come down to a very simple question. Is it my level 75 Jericho? Unfortunately, no. Jericho's gonna spend a lot of time in the shadows after this because her meta is, it's kind of fallen short. Escanor's are just way better. She's too squishy and all that. The one I'm really talking about is Blue Diane. And why Blue Diane and why haven't I leveled her up? Well, I haven't reached that point where I feel that she's that necessary because she gets stronger when the buff meta comes back. Her Rupture is similar to Guild Thunder, and you really need those teams that buff themselves up. So until you come back to that meta, Blue Diane is not going to see much light. But regardless, here are skills. She does a lot of damage with the first skill. It doesn't really scale well from level 1 to 2. It does do well at level 3, but it's really mostly used for the attack seal. Once you do the attack seal with her, that's it. Her first skill is not that great. Her second skill is really good in buff meta, which is, now it's kind of way past that point, so you're not going to really use her. So her rupture is not going to be that great, but here's a passive, right? Increases attack by 6% at the end of every turn. I believe this works even if you're in the backline, which means if you have a sleeping Diane in the backline, it will still build up. But regardless, gonna want her in the front line because um, at the end of like 2 to 3 turns, you're gonna have like 3 stacks of this. You're gonna have like what is this 18% increase. It may not be much, but look at the damage her ultimate does. 600%. If you face a Diane and you fail to stop her from ulting your team, it's over. She will wipe your entire team with her ultimate. It's a one-hit KO. And if you have it at level 6, it's a guaranteed one. It doesn't matter your type advantage. It doesn't matter, if you got like HP defense kind of characters. She's just gonna come in with her what do you call this? 160 is it'll be like 200% crit damage. This is gonna be like 50 crit chance. It's gonna be like 80 pierce rate or so whatever. Maybe not 80, maybe 50% pierce rate or whatever. But she's just gonna full swing impact. Uh, and it's just gonna destroy the entire team. It's terrifying. So the reason why she's not that great in the meta right now is because these two skills are not that amazing, to be honest. They don't do that much work. They will do a lot of work when the buff meta comes back, and when you see a lot of attackers, like maybe Red Escanor, and I don't know who else, maybe Blue Demon Melee. I think this is useful against Blue Demon Melee, but I'm not really sure because she's blue, so she's okay. But she does really well against the Red Escanor buff meta, and also she's good against some Green Merlin comps because even if you cube, she's gonna break right through the cube, which is great. But after that, you lose the ability once you break the buffs. But this, if you have not been wiped by this before, man, it's just a sight to behold, right? You think Escanor's ult is scary? Imagine Escanor's ult for the entire team, right? Against the entire enemy team. That's Diana's ult. Boom, KO. So yeah, this is my top 10 most terrifying and threatening PvP characters that I feel. And as I said, it's in no particular order because I just threw them out as I go through the list. I didn't really feel like I need to rank them because uh, s- this game is decently balanced in the sense where the character skills just do exactly what they tell you to. There's no hidden buffs, there's no hidden secrets. There's a lot of things you can explore as you play with the mechanics and the combinations of characters. But besides that, everything is out in the open. You know what they can do as it says, which is great. So that's it from me. Hope you get an idea of who to be afraid of in PvP and who not to be afraid of. Because at the end, you can build a perfect team to counter one composition, but there's always going to be a rock for every scissors, a scissors for every paper, and a paper for every rock, which is the kind of games that I enjoy. So, yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying this game. I am, for sure. And that's it from me. Adios, guys.